Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Morhonda of Bloomington.
Looks over the middle, second guesses, fires, throws. Does he make the catch in the end zone? Yes! Touchdown!
Oladipo to win it.
Another one!
He got
Another
it!
one!
Oladipo!
Another one! Huge hole! He's at the 30! He's gonna go! 10, 5, touchdown! Jonathan Taylor!
Galloway finds Rob Finnessy, who fires the three, and he hit it!
Now, from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, here's your host, Jim Coyle.
Hello, sports fans. Welcome into another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio, coming to you from high atop the 18th fairway here at the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Heard on great stations like 97.7 ESPN, The Ref in Evansville, WBRO in Marengo, and around the world on YouTube, where you should subscribe and hit that like button now so you never miss a show. Brought to you by IndyMoreHonda.com, where you will always find the best deals on new and used vehicles, and Endeavor Hospitality's Wow Club. Go to your Apple App Store, Google Play Store now. Sign up. Start earning wild rewards today. To places like BB's Market, home of the best selection of custom meats around and in-house made products, where you can find us live each and every Friday. I'm Jim Coyle. My co-host Dustin Schutte has returned from his assignment and is in the house with us today. Bob Kravitz will be joining us. Cal Neddenriep from the Indy Star. Rick Bozich, WDRB.com. So a great full lineup here on this hump day. Hope everyone's doing well. We've made it to the middle portion of the week. Dustin's struggling it out.
Yeah, man.
Not feeling the best.
We're fighting, but I do have to – I had to put this on. I almost forgot. I had to put on my Atlanta Braves hat because last night they locked up fifth straight division, overcoming Kevin Brockway's Mets and their 10.5 game lead. What a night to celebrate last night.
We should have gotten Kevin on this morning.
We should have.
You know what? In any of our breaks, we don't have this is not a great day. We don't have a lot of time on this day, but if there's time, John, and you want to reach out to Kevin and he wishes to share his loss, tell him he's welcome to come on with us. He might be listening. He has been listening some, I've noticed. So Kevin, we'd love to have you on if you are. How about, speaking of baseball, how about here comes the judge, baby?
Yeah, that's exciting for two reasons. Well, I mean, I guess it wouldn't interfere this weekend anyway, but to make American League history, and then number two, for them to stop cutting into my damn college football on Saturday with the Aaron Judge watch.
You know what? Here's the thing. If I wanted to watch that, I would be watching it.
Exactly.
I'm trying to watch something else. Leave me alone with that crap.
Yeah. That's exactly how I feel. I'm like, just tell people to go to Yes Network. Put it on the, you know what? Put it on the app. If you have, most people have ESPN app on their phone, sports fans. So why don't you just say, hey, here's a stream. You can watch the live cut-ins this way. I feel like that's appropriate. Instead of giving me half a screen of college football, half a screen of Aaron Judge. I mean, I'm a baseball fan. I like it. But on Saturday, I mean, I thought it was an interesting race. But on Saturdays, I don't care. And by the way, we were talking about this last night in the This Week in Indiana pod. Somebody did the statistics. I wish I could find it. Somebody did the statistics for Aaron Judge's at-bats when ESPN comes in. And it was like 2 of 8 with 4 walks or, no home runs. It was ultimate baseball statistics. So it was pretty funny.
Yeah, well, hopefully we can, K-Bro will stop by and talk to us about some baseball. Hope he's doing well down there. I guess he survived the hurricane well. Heath says that Matt Jones, who is a host of a UK radio show, of course, if you're a big UK figure there, says down in Kentucky made mention on Twitter about possible UKIU hoops revival. I have not heard anything about this, but I will go to Twitter now to see exactly what he said.
Dan Dockich made a comment about it yesterday too. So
what did he? What was said? That there's
something
momentum.
About there's sources or hearing word that could happen as soon as next season, but there wasn't like any concrete evidence. Obviously, it was just speculation.
Well, we will continue to wait to hear for that. When it comes out, it's going to come out. But that will be exciting. a lot more excitement. That would be more excitement for the Indiana basketball program and I wonder, with this starting to trickle out, this information trickling out days before Hoosier hysteria.
Yeah.
What a better time to make that announcement.
Oh, that's a great point. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a great point.
Can you imagine the roar that would draw? That would get the biggest roar of the night.
Yeah, that would, because people want to see it. And I mean, the thing about that's different from college basketball from college football is those schedules are set in the off season. It's not like football where they plan them out 10 to 15 years in advance. So you can change things pretty quickly. So that would be really interesting. Would be a lot of fun. That game needs to come back. I think we all agree on that. I wonder too, Jim. This would be interesting. The whole Mark Stoops, John Calipari spat. I kind of wonder now if maybe the AD has
stepped up and said, "Hey, I'm the athletics director at this
exactly.
school, and I'm going to make the decision on who schedules who and who plays who."
Yes, that's what I think might have happened.
You know what? I think you could be right about that because at some point the AD has to say, "I'm your boss."
Right.
And this is not just, this is a big, big game. And it's not about you. It's about this program. It's about Kentucky. It's about Indiana. It's about the tradition of those two schools.
Yep.
Both that have been in the highest realms of college basketball. They connect next to each other geographically. It is, to me, the best college basketball rivalry in college basketball. I know that Duke and North Carolina fans like to say the other way. Louisville, Kentucky fans like to say the other way. Nah, Indiana, Kentucky. It's just where champions have been made. I mean, that's just, it just had, I'm looking forward to it. And I'll be interested to see if it comes out this weekend. So
I wonder what the terms and regulations of it would be. Would it be home and home? Would it be?
I would highly doubt it's a home and home.
I would doubt that too, but it's a step in the right direction,
especially with it happening this quickly. I would say that Calipari probably would get his way in that. Because he could use a myriad of reasons. Hey, it's better for us to go to domes or bigger places to get a bigger audience.
They could recruit Indianapolis.
Yes. Well, I wouldn't say they declined. Heath, I'm having a little problem there.
Oh.
Can you can hear me fine? Hopefully.
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
All right, great. It seems like my screen is. Well, Heath says, didn't Louisville already decline to play IU sometime soon? They did, but they also declined someone else. They just, hey, Kenny Payne says, hey, give me a year to see.
They're also playing Louisville next year in the what is it? The Classic that they're playing in New York. They could play Louisville. That's what it is.
Preseason NIT? Is that what it is? Is that still the thing?
It's one of those 14 classics that's in Madison Square. It might be the Jimmy V Classic.
Okay.
But they are playing. I don't know if they're like only playing Louisville or if they could play Louisville depending on if they win or lose, something like that.
Well, as far as a scheduled series, Kenny Payne has not wanted to set that up just yet. I don't know that that's one Indiana needs to be in if they are in the Kentucky series. The Kentucky series would be great, but leave yourself open to playing in things like going to Kansas and playing out in Las Vegas against Arizona. Make sure you have that freedom to do that. So I don't know if Louisville series will come and maybe that Louisville series that the AD know is coming in the future says, you know what, we probably should schedule this game. It was Memphis. There you go. Justin B, welcome aboard. So yeah, hopefully that happens. It was a matter of time. That's just, it's rare that a series of that importance ends because of what a coach has the red ass,
Right. Especially
it's time to, it's like, all right, get over it. Get over yourself. Get over yourself.
Especially in basketball when you're going to play 30 games anyway. In football, it's a little bit different. We've seen some of those games go away because you only have a 12-game schedule, and with certain Big Ten, all Big Ten teams having to play 9 conference games, it shrinks down the number of home and homes and those out-of-conference rivalry games. But in basketball, you got 30 games. And then immediately after he got beat on the road at Assembly Hall, he decided, we're done with this. I hope it comes back. I'd love to see it back as a home and home, but even if it is a neutral site game, that's at least a step in the right direction of the two sides coming together. And maybe it will evolve into being home and home sometime again in the future. I hope so, because I don't know if it was the best. I won't go that leap. You probably saw a little bit more, but it was one of the best rivalries in college basketball for sure.
Yeah, it would, if as far as taking place, I would say the Yum Center and Gamebridge Fieldhouse are probably the two venues without question of where that would happen. Both NBA, of course, the Yum Center is an NBA style stadium, nothing comes close to Gamebridge, baby. It's the best. But yeah, hopefully that happens. That would be a lot of fun. And like I said, it's a matter of time. And I agree with you. And I think that I would not be surprised if the AD probably just said, "Hey, it's time."
Because
that
I'm guessing
won't come out. That won't come out. Calipari's going to say, "Well, blah, blah, blah." But yeah, I agree with you.
I think at some point those three had to get, whether it was a teleconference or an in-person meeting, those three all got together and said, we can't have this. And I think for the AD, I don't know who it is, seeing somebody stand up to Calipari and get support for it might have set the tone and be like, you know what, I'm going to take over this athletic department. And if we're playing, if I want to play Indiana, we're going to try to schedule Indiana. That's just, as it was the first thought that crossed my mind.
Looks like it's time for a break. And we'll listen to the boss. Big show coming up today. Bob Kravitz from The Athletic will join us. Kyle Neddenriep from the Indy Star. Rick Bozich from WDRB.com. What a lineup that is. Brought to you by our friends at BB's Market. Chef JD out there whipping up some good stuff. I'm going to head out there tomorrow. I'm still doing my chili cook-off now. Now you know what it is? Now it's going to be me and as he called himself yesterday, Ali. I'm getting into the ring with Muhammad Ali tomorrow or Friday in the chili cook-off, man.
There you go. I like it.
Not me. I don't like it. I'm going to be in there one-handed. You're not going to be there to help take some of the heat off. No pun intended. We got lots more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Thanks a lot for being here, and we're back with it right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Whether you're visiting...
And just like that, they were all gone.
Who's gone?
Nothing, both of you and Dustin stood up.
Oh, I know where he might be going. Is that you making that... Is that you or him?
Oh, he's muted, so I don't know what he's doing.
I could hear your coffee going ching 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 ching.
Oh yeah, that's me.
Look at me. Look how smart I am. I grabbed a menu from Southern Stone when I was there last time.
Oh, nice.
I've got to try. Every time I've been to Bloomington, we never really stop and eat there. I need to try some of your sponsors whenever next time I'm up there.
You think?
I might have to send you guys some Outsider sweatshirts as part of as a Christmas gift to y'all. These are the most
There you
comfortable
go.
sweatshirts.
Good morning, Mr. Kravitz.
Absolutely.
Good morning.
Good morning,
Hello.
Bob.
Hello,
Oh,
Bobby. How's the golf game?
I'm going to try and play some today. Played CCI last week. I shot an 84.
Look at you.
Won all the money.
Look at Bob Kravitz. Damn, he's getting close to 70s.
Yeah, not in this lifetime.
They're gonna handicap you out.
No, I'm still all of a 16. Believe me, I'm just I'm in a hot streak.
I'm gonna sound like a dummy real quick. I always hear y'all say the term handicap when you're talking about golf. What does that mean?
Well, it means
For me, it's every club in my bag.
yeah. Like for example, I shot an 84. I'm based on my history. I get 16 strokes, so that's that. They would count that as a 68 in our game, which is pretty good. You know, 84 minus 60, 84 minus 16 is 68. So, like if you're really good, you know, you're a single digit handicapper.
Mitchell Page is a .08 handicap.
Okay, and I'm 16 because I'm not any good.
Every time
like an 18 or more, I'm
15.
18 plus.
Every time I tell Mitchell my score, he's like, I don't know that I would play anymore. So I just avoid telling him what I shoot.
All right, here we go.
Where you live, we should be. Ask for Indiana Sports Beat Radio. This segment is brought to you by Southern Stone Restaurant. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back. Indiana Sports Beat Radio coming to you here on this Wednesday, brought to you by our good friends at Southern Stone Restaurant, where I will be tonight. And you can also find Don Fisher and Tom Allen at 7:05 for Inside Indiana Football. So stop out there, and then also have it's just looking through their menu, man. Incredible. Great food, great prices. Bob Kravitz been knocking around the golf course, man. Hitting an 84. That's pretty daggone good, brother.
84 CCI. That was a financial windfall.
Hey, how many? What was this? A tournament or friends
No,
thing?
just a bunch of guys get together. Everybody throws $10 in the pot. When I say a financial windfall, I'm talking $40. Okay.
Yeah, I was just saying. My team won yesterday, and I won 5.
There you go. It doesn't matter how much you won. What matters is that you can go for a beer afterwards and blow everybody a lot of crap.
Hey, Rufo, man, I got to give him the credit. He was knocking into putts.
There you go.
You got to have it. It's all about putting.
Yes,
it is all about putting. Oh, my God. It is. I can hit a bad shot and hit a second bad shot and then save myself. And then if you can just putt.
Yeah. Yeah, we played CCI, not to bore your listeners, but you do that every day anyway. But just kidding.
That's quite true.
The stimp meter was running at a 14. That's like PGA speed on the greens. I mean, if you touched the ball, it would go off the green.
Yeah, as long as I don't have to worry about the free drinks in the clubhouse money. No hole in one for me.
Yeah.
Of course, if that ever did happen to me, that would be at a time where I was in some tournament or something where it would cost $1 million.
Yes, that's happened to me. I've had 2 of them, and one of them got kind of pricey.
You're a baseball fan.
Sure.
All rise for the judge. 62 in the house. That's a big time record that fell, and it seems to have fallen in a way that we're not in the steroid era. We're not talking about Bonds and Sosa, and
we're in the steroid era. Okay.
Right.
Because I remember when Rodriguez was closing in on everybody, and everybody was saying, well, at least this guy is clean. Well, it turned out that Alex Rodriguez was not clean. So
Right.
I'm not saying anything about Aaron Judge. I'm just saying that until we know, we don't know.
Exactly. Because you never know. You don't know what you don't know.
Yeah, but it was a pretty cool scene. Now everybody can stop bitching about how they were forced to watch those cut-ins, because talk about first world problem. Good God. Quit bitching.
Oh, my God.
I will not.
We had that in the first segment.
Oh,
we were
my
talking
God.
about
It's
that.
a cut-in, and I got to watch a little college football in a small box with no
I
sound.
know, but I'm like, if I want to watch the baseball, I'll watch the baseball, Bob. I want to watch the football.
Yes.
What's that?
My problem is we have all these apps for streaming and all that. You can't put a cut in on the app.
That's not. They're not. They want it. They want you to come watch with their. Yeah, it's who knows, who cares.
I don't know. I didn't have a problem with it, but whatever.
What's new for you? The Colts, man, they have been stinking it up.
Well, I got a column just appeared about an hour ago on The Athletic about how it's time for the Colts to stop kicking the quarterback can down the road. I do not want to see Matt Ryan next year. If I do, it would be in the role of a mentor for a CJ, for a Stroud, for a Young, for a Will Levis, whoever it might be. But I think after kind of kicking the can down the road for the last 6 years or so, well, certainly since Luck left, I think it's time to make the commitment to going with the successor, whoever that might be. And I think this is the draft that Chris Ballard has got to take that leap of faith.
Yeah, you know what? It's funny. I'm looking at your piece, but that goes right along with where the NFL is, I think, Dustin. You look around the league and you see Justin Fields and Trevor Lawrence, Tagliavola, all these young guys that were just in college.
Wait, say that again?
Tua.
That's better. I thought you were saying Paul Tagliabue, the old.
I was trying to sneak that one through. Tua Tagliavola.
That sounds like an Italian dish with vodka sauce.
Well, how do you say it?
Tonga Vailoa.
That's what I said.
Right.
But anyway, my point is, it's kind of like NASCAR in a way. I don't want to make that comparison, but NASCAR, all these drivers are so young now. The quarterbacks, there has been a youth movement where before it would usually take a few years to get that mentorship to where you were able to play in this league. And we see guys that are able to jump up and do it now and step in. I mean, even Lamar Jackson, he was good when he started, but he's continuing to get better. This is probably going to be your NFL MVP this year, maybe.
It seems like every couple of years we say this is the greatest collection. This is the age of the young quarterback. It seems like we say that every couple of years, but this is a really good group. I mean, you look at Mahomes and Allen and and all those guys, and Tonga Vailoa is coming on. Unfortunately, he's hurt. I just like saying the name at this point.
Yeah.
To be perfectly honest with you. Tonga Vailoa.
Well, don't worry. There's another one coming at Maryland.
That's right.
And he's pretty damn good.
Yeah, there's a lot of, but I mean, the guys, I was looking at a story in The Athletic yesterday about the top quarterback prospects, and clearly Stroud, Young, and Levis are the big three. So Michelle Reuter mentions the Hines comment, and I was right there when he was talking about it. I had asked him the question, and he was not ripping on Ballard. It was just a statement of fact. I mean, it's hard every single stinking year to get up to speed with a new quarterback. It's hard for teammates. It's hard for the quarterback. It's hard for coaches. It does not surprise me that Matt Ryan has started off pretty slow, because if you remember back, what's his name? Phillip Rivers, first 5 games, he was 4 touchdowns and 5 interceptions and nothing special. And that team ended up being top 10 top 10 in offense for the season. So I think they'll pull it together offensively, but boy, that offensive line, it's really hard to understand. A group that was supposed to be the strength of this team has suddenly become an utter liability.
And
how
that's
ironic
what
is I'm sorry, Dustin. I was
go
just
ahead.
going to say, how ironic is it of the similarities between the Colts and the Indiana Hoosiers?
Yeah, no, I mean, we got to start. We got to start growing some big fat guys who can move in this state. It's just,
They have them. They just go to Clemson and Ohio State and other places.
I never thought that losing Mark Lewinsky and Eric Fisher would be so devastating. But you look at what Ballard brought in to replace him. I mean, you got Danny Pinter, who's really a better center than he is a right guard, and he's playing right guard until he got blown out of there and replaced. And then at left tackle, Matt Pryor has never really played left tackle before. So that, to me, is completely on the general manager for failing to adequately replace Eric Fisher and Glowinski with two guys who can play a lick.
I think about even as recently as 3 or 4 years ago, if you looked at a matchup between Matt Ryan and Russell Wilson, you'd think there's going to be a lot of points scored. But this game on Thursday night, through 4 games, features 2 of the ugliest offenses.
Yeah.
It's going to be, unless somebody pulls it together, it's going to be one of the uglier primetime games I think we've seen early in the NFL season. I mean, I think. Do you think Denver's kind of dealing with that same thing, the adjustment process?
Exactly. And they've had some injuries too, and obviously they lost their fine running back Javonte Williams. So Melvin Gordon is going to have to go on Thursday night. We don't know about the Colts, but yeah, Denver's got to be suffering buyer's remorse at this point. But I would say be patient. I remember talking to Bill Polian during training camp, and you've made it very clear. He said, I think these first 4, 5, 6 games, Matt is really going to struggle. The offense is really going to struggle. And that's all abundantly true. But, man, this offensive line, if they can't pull themselves together, I don't care if you got Tom Brady or Patrick Mahomes back there, it ain't going to work.
Speaking of former offensive components of the Colts, I saw that Jizzy James is committed to Cincinnati. Jizzy James is the son of Edgerrin James.
Isn't that great?
I just happened to see that. I want talk about wanting to say the name. Yeah, I just wanted to say the name.
Jizzy Tagovailoa.
That would be something. I mentioned Indiana, and they are in a quagmire. They just lost at Nebraska, which is a tough place to play, but right now was probably as good a time to get a win there as you're going to get.
Yep.
And they were not able to do that.
Yeah,
I looked down the schedule, and it's I don't think they're going to be favored at home against Rutgers, depending on what plays out. But Michigan is next up and at home. But I don't know that I see another win on the schedule for Indiana. The Rutgers game is possible, but that's on the road. Maryland is at home. They're playing well, and they're very good offensively, throwing the ball, which has suddenly become a nemesis to Indiana, shockingly. But you mentioned Tagovailoa. There will be one in Bloomington in a few weeks as well. So you should come to see that, and you can say his name all day.
Yeah, it's been very frustrating to watch. I watched the game against Nebraska. I mean, that is a really bad Nebraska team. That's as bad a Nebraska team as I can remember in my lifetime, and yet they put it to Indiana after being tied 21-all. I don't know what to say about Indiana, Jim. I mean, people are starting to lose their patience. You look at what's gone on around the Big Ten with Paul Chryst. You look at what happened with Scott Frost. I think people are starting to wonder. Now, personally, I think the worst thing Indiana can do is make yet another change. Yeah. I mean, they are closing in this week on the 699th loss, which is the most in Division I football history. 699th loss in program history. So that tells me that their issues go far beyond an individual coach. And I think they need to stick with Tom Allen through thick and thin, and see where he can take them. Making yet another move may palliate the masses for a short period of time. But as we have seen from history tells us that changing coaches every 4 or 5 years at Indiana is not a recipe for success.
Right. And they're going to have to make they will have to make some changes to their staff.
Yeah,
I think in the offseason. But to that point, especially this year, because you just mentioned Wisconsin is already open, Colorado, Nebraska, those are some big time jobs. And if you're Indiana, you're not going to compete with those. So who are you going to be able to allure? Right. And as Jim and I have talked, and Jim made this point, if you get somebody really good and he does really well, there's a good chance he's out the door in a couple of years. Yeah.
Yeah. And look, for Tom Allen, this is the job.
Right.
This is the top. This is the dream job. I know he's got SEC ties, but I don't see him wanting to leave Indiana unless they have just a massive amount of success. I don't see that happening. I say you stick with Tom Allen. You make some internal changes to staff. Maybe some of the things, the way you do things, has to come under review. But you know that they did have the excellent recruiting class last year. Those kids should be coming along next year and in the years to come. I just think it's Indiana. You got to be patient.
The young players have actually that recruiting class you're talking about. There's been some stick out this year, of course. Hassan McCullough first comes to mind. Jalen Luke is next. These guys are freshmen, and so hopefully that I worry that their next recruiting class might. And I don't know how much it can go the opposite way if they're not having the success that they have been having. Which
on the flip side, Jim, if they're not playing well, those kids look at Indiana as a chance to start on day one. Yep. So I think that's something that's going to continue to lure, top prospects to Bloomington. So, it's an interesting situation.
Yeah, and the fact that Tanis mentions that Tom Allen does want to be here, and is pretty much what you said, Bob. Wanting to be at Indiana is a key, or wanting to be wherever you are. But I would look. It was something I was thinking of. Man, how many different coaches has left his staff, or has he been through in his period? Which I know that's part of the business, but it's been a lot. If you've been on a player on this team, I'd have to go back and look, but I think you could have played for 4 different offensive coordinators,
right?
Especially with COVID.
Right. It's hard to sustain that way. But they had DeBoer, they've had some good people who've left. So, it's if you're Indiana, I think you stick with what you're doing. You tweak obviously, but moving Tom Allen out to me makes no sense at all.
Jimbo is not on the hot seat, first of all, and speaking of Jimbo Fisher at Texas A&M, because a buyout of Jimbo Fisher for Texas A&M would cost $86 million.
That's my buyout athletic, actually.
I would be actively trying to get fired if that was my buyout anywhere.
I'd be like, Ed Orgeron, what door you want me to go out? What
door?
How much you say that was? What door you want me to go out?
I like that. That's pretty good.
Hey, man.
You can't pronounce the quarterback's name, but that's pretty good.
I don't think he could either.
Ed Orgeron doing Tonga Vailoa?
Oh, man, I wish we could have recruited better. We could have got that Tonga Viga, that Tua Tango, does a tango, Tonga Vailoa.
There you go. Ding, 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 ding.
But also this weekend, it's a huge weekend in Bloomington. Obviously, homecoming. Unfortunately for Indiana, they're playing Michigan, who might be the best team in the Big Ten. And also, though, on Friday, you've got Hoosier Hysteria. Are you coming down for that, by the way?
I am not.
Just curious.
But
Just curious. It's just a fancy fan appreciation thing for the most part. Yeah.
There's not much. I've never found that it's much of a media thing. It's great for fans, and I understand why media covers it because it's IU. Anything IU basketball related, you're going to have a good media showing. But yeah, for me, not really. I think I'm going to work on a piece on Xavier. What he's been through, not been through, what he put himself and other people through, and how he's trying to get his act together.
Yeah,
that'll be next week or the week after.
That's going to be a critical part of this basketball team because
No
he's
doubt.
the head of the snake in the way that he's going to have the ball in his hands a lot. But I really wonder how much him and Jalen Hood-Schifino are really going to be, or to switch off and be, Xavier may be listed as the 1 and Jalen Hood-Schifino the 2, but I can see them easily just switching positions fluidly.
Oh, yeah. Well, I have not seen Hood-Schifino play very much, so I'm holding off on that for now. But yeah, I think that the key to this whole thing, we know what we're going to get out of Jackson Davis. We know what we're going to get out of Race. You pretty much know what you're going to get out of a lot of the other guys. But if Xavier Johnson plays the way he played down the stretch last year, this is a Big Ten champion.
Wow. Looks forward to it, man. Well, I look forward to seeing you. Enjoy the golf game. And,
all right, buddy. Hey, and just FYI, that McAfee piece was supposed to go today. The McAfee piece is going to go on Friday, so check that out in The Athletic.
Do not forget, Bob Kravitz, you should be following him anyway, and so you'll know all the time when his pieces come out, but he's got a piece on Pat McAfee coming out. He has a piece out right now talking about the Colts and their quarterback situation, the running back situation, or rather the offensive situation and the QB. But thank you, sir. We appreciate you.
Thank you, boys.
The man, Bob Kravitz from The Athletic. Make sure you give him a follow, as I said, and follow his great content at The Athletic. We're back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Golfers, here's a
Golfers. Golf. Let's go play some golf.
Golf.
I wish we could play real music on this show for bumps.
Me too. You know what? Well, just because if you could keep it off of YouTube, we could.
What do you mean?
Well, because
you can't
on the radio,
because then the audience wouldn't hear it.
But damn it, what is the freaking rule?
It's not. I mean, it's not a big deal. It's just I wish we could do it.
Do you have a select amount of free
I've got so many channels that I pull from on YouTube that are like free background music, no copyright music, that kind of stuff.
Gotcha.
I pick a channel and I scroll through different stuff, and there's all sorts of things. I repeat some. Obviously, you probably heard several over the past year or whatever that I've played multiple times because I like them. But I just kind of cycle through a bunch of different things.
Is that why I assume that's why the intro and outro changed?
What do you mean?
Not the intro, the outro. We used to have the Sound of Madness.
Yeah. That's 100% why we changed the outro. Yeah. Because the intro was also Coming to Your City.
That's the
beginning of me being around.
God, yes. I missed that. I
remember that now. I remembered the outro. For whatever reason, I could not remember the intro.
Well, the outro we used a whole lot longer after.
Yeah, that's true.
Because it played so quickly that it didn't get picked up on YouTube, but it was still annoying. I was like, let's just make an outro.
Well, until we added YouTube, we didn't have to worry about it because we were on radio, and
Well, I wasn't
It's
around
fine.
for that though.
You have access
Yeah.
on radio.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But once we added YouTube,
I have that new Ozzy Osbourne song stuck in my head. I was wanting to come back to. That's what made me say it earlier anyway. All right, here we go.
One Honda certified pre-owned Accord, Civics, CRVs, HRVs, and Pilots. See dealer for financing deals. Andy Moore Honda, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer. Get more to your door with AndyMooreHonda.com.
Come see us at the all-new Andy Moore Honda, now in Bloomington.
This segment is brought to you by Remax Advanced Realty, Indy Home Pros team by Cheryl Sizemore. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
welcome back. Indiana Sports Beat Radio coming to you here on this Wednesday, brought to you by our good friends at Remax Realty. If you're in the market for a home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore and her 2 decades of experience. It could be the difference between you getting the home you want or not. Reach out to her, Cheryl at IndyHomePros.com. I, Dustin Schutte from Outsider.com, my co-host with me as always. I was just looking up G Herbo. We were talking about music in the break. Some names of some of his hits: PTSD, Riding With It, High Speed, Write Your Name, Stress Relief, Me, Myself, and I, Sessions, Blues, Locked In, Man Now. I wonder if I can get a riff off of some of these. I'll be able to hear it, but you all won't be able to hear it, I'd say.
Whenever we bring Rick Bozich on, last week he requested that his intro music be something from G Herbo. We'll try that out when he comes on.
I was going to say, do you have one picked out?
Not yet, but I'll be looking for one. I got to find one that doesn't say any swear words.
I haven't heard of any of these. I don't even know who G Herbo. I still don't know who G Herbo is, to be honest with you.
I'm thinking Riding With It might be it, man. It just sounds like a cool name. Riding With It. That's Rick. Or it could be, we could change that name easily to Riding With Rick.
There you go. I like it. Riding with Zich. Bozich. We'll shorten his last name.
Yeah. I think you Riding With It will do will suffice for you. 5 Left says he loves that name. Hood Schifino. Sounds like a New York street gangsta.
Hood Schifino. I do like that. It's a good name.
Well, it's easy. It flows. And
does.
the letters. JHS.
Oh yeah. JHS goes along with TJD.
Tanis talking about that $86 million buyout I mentioned a minute ago for Jimbo Fisher. If that's not that they're looking at that just someone had asked that question, and I saw, I happened to see that earlier this morning.
Why?
Tanis asking, is it G Herbo? Is it Herbo or Herbo? I don't understand.
Maybe like is it capitalized?
Oh, Airbo.
No, he's saying is it pronounced herbs
Airbo
or herbs? Yeah.
You know what? That is
herbs,
a good question.
Like Urban Meyer.
I like this.
No, it's not. It's like herbs as in herbs. Okay, greenery.
Greenery.
Well, if we have Bob Kravitz, he would just say, "You're talking about pot." Yeah.
Herbs.
I think it's G Herbo. G Herbo. Yeah, G Herbo sounds better. So
Isn't Herbo a gummy worm?
Man, I don't know.
I feel like Herbo's
that's hair, but that's hair.
That's Haribo, the Haribo.
Haribo, okay. Well, that was close.
Hey, this tastes great. Oh, just flying into my mouth.
I asked this question to Jim the other day, Dustin, and I don't think he answered it the way that I wanted him to, but I'm curious what your answer would be. So I said, if you had your, obviously, whatever fandom you choose, but your Midnight Madness, your dream Midnight Madness performer. But it has to be somebody who's not like, a big time star. Somebody who's like up and coming, like a G Herbo or however you pronounce it. Who would you want performing at your Midnight Madness?
At my Midnight this is just like Dustin's coming out of the tunnel and doing the layup line.
But it's the live performance.
Right,
Who would
but
you
I'm
want as
saying
the live
like,
performer?
like
Yeah.
I'm not trying to attract any recruits or anything, correct?
This is for you and for you only.
Okay, so I think I don't know a lot of up and coming stars, but I think I would go with. Have you heard Brent Cobb is his name?
Brett Cobb. No, I haven't.
yeah.
So, is he country?
So the goal,
He is
so the goal
country.
to this question is to get as many names of people that no one knows who they are. It sounds like
That's how I'm understanding this question. If it's not a
because
big
yesterday
time
Jim said Guns N' Roses, and I'm like, you can't. I didn't say this, but because we were ending the show, but that doesn't really qualify because nobody, at least to us, nobody knows who G Herbo is. So I'm saying up and coming because they're known by a few people, I guess.
Gotcha. Yeah,
I said Dirty Honey.
Mellencamp is not in.
Reminds me of Aerosmith.
Because Mellencamp is 70 years old. That's why not John Mellencamp. He is 70 years old. I like his music, fine. But this is not about me. It's not about people my age. It's about the kids of today. And don't forget, life has gone on. Kids, they're younger. And you've got to stop calling him John Cougar Mellencamp. He hates it's John Mellencamp. Yeah, Tim, you gotta lose the Cougar on that. Brad's saying the H is pronounced.
What great content we have today.
Hey, I love it.
I'm saying that seriously and as a joke. Pete Lawson says Green Day.
Pete. Okay. Pete says I would go with the up and comer Bono U2. There you go.
Were they up and coming back in your day? I'm assuming. I don't really know their history of how long it took for them to get big or not.
Well, they got pretty big on the. I think their first. They were big already. Sunday Bloody Sunday had come out already. That was big, and then the Joshua Tree, and then that was followed up by daggone, I can't remember the album, but they just boom, boom, boom. They just hit. So
if this was No Holds Barred, I'd go Eric Clapton. Like if I could pick anyone, not an up and comer, I'd go Eric Clapton.
Somebody's giving Tim some bad information, or I don't know what kids you're talking about. Tim, "Hurt So Good" is one of the number one songs that the kids like. Kids that are 40 years old, maybe 45 to 50 to 55, but most kids don't even know who John Mellencamp is. If you're in the state of Indiana, yeah, but outside of the state of Indiana, the kids don't know Mellencamp unless they're just a musical freak. They love all kinds of music. Tana said he watched the 87 Mellencamp Lou Reed concert at the Bluebird on YouTube yesterday. Wow. How about that?
That's pretty awesome.
How about that? That's pretty cool. Oh, there you go. Pete says Green Day. Now, I'm cool with Green Day. And I think that they're in between enough. That's actually a pretty good in between. If you got Green Day, that would work.
Yeah, that would probably work.
I think you have enough of a middle. There you go. Put some respect on that name, JTP. G Herbo's name.
G Herbo.
The Joshua Tree. Well, I said Joshua Tree. No, the album that followed the Joshua Tree. Shake, Rattle and Hum. I think it was Rattle and Hum. Boy, they had those just three boom, boom, boom albums. Five Left says Too Short.
All right.
I've heard of Too Short. I at least know who
I've heard of Too Short.
Boys to Men.
That makes me wonder. Crickets.
I have actually seen them perform. That was a long time. Actually, it wasn't that long ago, but they did a free concert in Orlando. I stopped by. It was not long.
Wrong answers only. Who's your preferred? Who's your hysteria performer?
Ooh, wrong answers. That's a good one.
Green Day is too old, Tana says.
Nickelback's a cop-out. You can't just say Nickelback for everything that I ask musically related.
Yes, they can. Anything ever asked about music, especially by you coming up in your lifetime, the answer will be Nickelback.
That's true.
It's
Creed
not,
is
I guess.
Creed is a great answer.
I'll tell you who
Creed is
I
a
would
great
like.
answer.
I'll tell you exactly who I would like for it to be, and it's not an up and comer, but I'd like for it to be Pearl Jam.
Ooh, so Pearl Jam just played at the Bourbon and Beyond Festival down in Louisville, and that's their first time that they visited the city since the early 90s.
Wow.
There you go, Jason. That's correct. He loves Mellencamp, but he's like all the others in their 70s. Their energy on stage is gone. All the songs are slowed down, and they rely on backup singers while they catch their wind. It's true. That's exactly what I was saying. That's why he can turn. When I saw him recently in Seymour, well, that was awesome. It was him and a guitar. He was acoustic doing those songs.
Let's go,
well, that's
Sean.
cool.
Sean says, corn. Was not expecting anybody to bring corn up in the chat.
Corn?
A little freak on a leash. get the crowd bumping.
You know what popped into my
Left's
head?
comment says, Too Short song Pimpology would change Dustin's life.
I'm going to listen to it now.
Let's see. Muddy Waters, a little blues.
Oh, I like that. I mean, he's no longer with us, but that would be awesome.
Well, that would be difficult then.
Speaking of no longer with us, yesterday, Loretta Lynn passed away.
Oh, yeah, she did.
Ross Burnell brings that up.
She wasn't on my short list of making it.
Oh.
That's Too Short song Pimpology would change Dustin's life.
That.
So
I just said that.
My bad. I didn't hear you. Well, I'm sorry. When I was talking and you jumped in,
I'm gonna listen to it during the break.
Hey, how about Victor Oladipo? That would have been good a couple of years ago. Is he? I'm sure he's not, but his the love, the changes he's made in his professional career, the teams and things he's done, like how he left the Pacers. I don't want to say it's tarnished his time at IU, but it's
absolutely not.
It's muted it a little bit, I think.
I think you're right.
Just muted a little bit. It's not. It used to be crazy.
I think you're right, but only for people who are Hoosiers and Pacers fans. If you're not a Pacers fan, you probably don't care, to be quite honest.
Let's see. Yes, it won't be her. That's funny. That must be a song. Oh, Garth Brooks? No. We're picking old bands still, but that's what music. That's right. Do you notice those bands that a lot of the kids like today, they're not going to be around. A lot of them won't be around 10 years from now.
Right.
I mean, think of Pearl Jams, the Van Halens, AC/DCs, Van Halen twice, actually, AC/DCs, all the Pearl Jams, all those great rock, the Rolling Stones, for God's sakes, that just were able to keep going.
Right.
Today's music, those groups, it's Green Day, you got to give them credit. They able to keep going. Oh, daggone it. Dave Grohl and the Foo
Fighters. Yes.
Probably.
That's a good answer. Foo Fighters is a great answer.
Probably the top rock band, I'd say, of current rock band.
I would say so. They're pretty.
Yeah, I would say they're definitely a contender for that.
I would say so.
They're a contender.
I
could have been somebody. I could have been a somebody. I could have been a contender. Extra points for those who know.
As much as I hate to say it, Slipknot is probably one of the top rock band, or I don't even want to call them rock. They're just
heavy. They just make
downright metal. Yeah,
Milli Vanilli.
Is that? I
could do that
on the water. Wait, could have been a contender. That's not on the waterfront.
Actually, it is.
Is it? Okay.
Yep. I could have been a somebody. I could have been a contender. Maybe it's reversed. I can't remember. The great Marlon Brando. Man, you never know what you're going to get here with this show, baby.
You don't.
We just went from the Foo Fighters to Marlon Brando in the snap of a finger. We got to take a break because we've got more coming to you. Kyle Neddenriep from Indianapolis Star is going to join us as well. Looking forward to that. Don't forget, if you're in the Louisville, Southern Indiana area looking for a home, Floyd, Clark, Harrison, Scott counties, all down through there, Barbara Pop Real Estate Services has served that community for over 3 decades. And there is no one that can get you in the home that you want more so than Barbara Pop Real Estate Services. You can reach out to her, Barbara at barbarapoprealty.com, or Matt Lincoln, Matt at barbarapop.com. Back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after this.
We'll be right back to the golf club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Andy Moore. Boy, not many people know who Henry Lee Summer is.
I don't, unfortunately.
I'm going to listen to Pimpology here. I'll mute myself so I don't get in trouble.
Hey, there you go.
I don't think. No,
it can still go over the YouTube air. Don't play it over that.
Who is it? Too short?
Too short. And the S is a $.
Ah, nice. All right, here we go.
All right. Get Dustin's review of Pimpology.
I'm getting riding with its lyrics.
Don't worry. During this segment, I'm going to check it out. I need to let Kyle know we're ready for him.
Uh-huh.
And surely I can, even if I can't find
Reminiscing Satin County a week, was in there chilling. How the F I ain't end up in there when he was really drilling. Can't afford
it. How the F
again. I know the feeling.
Version.
Damn, why the F you always in your feelings? I've been banging with the Wapsino Fair since he was children.
Oh my God.
They killed Tracy that same night. Yeah, that's one you can't play.
Yep. I'm sure there's a short list of ones that I can, unless I can find a clean version, which I will do my very best.
I'm just looking at the ones that got the lyrics. I'm pulling up the lyrics. That way you can see what it is.
Honestly, I bet 9 out of 10 of his songs have swear words, so I'm just going to be looking for clean versions.
You think there is one? A clean one?
I'm sure YouTube has almost clean versions of everything, but if they can't find one, then I just won't play them. So we'll see.
Well, I can tell you this. PTSD, I went through the first entire stanza, and there's nothing, no cuss words. As a matter of fact, you get all the way down to the second part until there's an F word. I was hearing bangs like Chief Keef, always yelling names that's deceased. I got off my mind and my instincts shooting at the same time. Wasn't sync on the same thing, trying to repeat. We was in them whips, right back on our enemies, stuffed on my last hit. I was in the middle seat.
Ooh, NF is a good choice, Sean. Sean, you're right up my alley with Korn and NF. Those are some good choices right there.
Who's NF?
Korn.
He's a rapper, but in the middle of the road kind of rapper. Current. All right, here we go.
0961. Cheryl Sizemore from Remax Advanced Realty. Let Cheryl Sizemore get you in the home you want today. Cheryl at IndyHomePros.com.
This segment is brought to you by Feast Market and Cellar. Now back to the golf club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back. Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by our good friends at Feast Market and Cellar, located next door to Southern Stone Restaurant on Patterson and Rogers, offering an extensive selection of wine with a sommelier on staff, so you can pair it with some of their other gourmet offerings or the dinner that you're preparing. We were going over lyrics in the break of G. Herbo, trying to find one that you can play for Rick Bozich's walk-up music.
I was listening to Pimpology by Too Short. Great recommendation. It did change my life. Although I still have 4 minutes to get through because it looks like his songs are 6 minutes long. So I will have to finish at a later time.
I'll have to check that one out myself. Is Kyle on this segment? Yes, he is. So looking forward to talking to Kyle to catch up on. We have been out of the loop on high school football, man. Was it like week 7 or week 8? I think it's crazy that how deep into the season that we are with that, but we are. And Kyle, I just checked to double check, but Detroit did not make the playoffs. They're right there with the Reds, though.
They're better than the Reds, aren't they? They're not going to lose 100. I know that. They got hot at the end of the year.
Yeah.
The perfect time to get hot when you've lost 92 games.
The Reds are trying to not finish last in their division. They were tied with who were they tied? Oh, Pittsburgh.
I think Pittsburgh's right at 99 because they were playing the Cardinals last night. And
both were at 60 and 99.
Yeah.
So I can't remember who the Reds were playing. Let's see, Major League Baseball. Let's just go to this because I want to see that standings. Just out of curiosity, my old Reds, they're still hanging in there with 99 losses, baby. They got 62 wins, so they're a game in front of the Pirates, who have just hung their 100th loss onto the season. How about the Nationals? 106 losses. Billy Bean, Moneyball, not going too well. Back to 102 losses. He turned down a $12.5 million contract 20 years ago to be the GM for the Boston Red Sox when, and he's just been happy staying out there with that, which is mind-boggling. But
yeah, I remember reading the book when Moneyball came out, and it was super interesting. The movie I thought took some liberties, obviously, like movies do, but the book was like, but in the movie failed to mention like they had Hudson, Mulder, and Zito. So, that was kind of a huge part of that scenario. But the book obviously,
Nick Zito,
yeah, Zito, Hudson, and Mulder. That was kind of their big three at the time, and then more of the Moneyball stuff was about the hitting, and then getting some of those guys in who were more walk oriented, which wasn't really a thought as much back then, 20 whatever years ago, as it is now. So I think a lot of the things he was doing has been, taken by the main, everybody else pretty much. And it's hard. They just don't have the money. That's kind of why they did it in the first place. But, the book was really good. I forget the author's name now, but he's done Michael Lewis, done a lot of really good books.
He's a good basketball player and coach too.
Yeah. I don't know how he gets it done.
He's a master of all.
He's a great author, great coach.
How did Detroit end up? Well, they're not last. They also, like the Reds, one game in front of the Royals, 66-95. So they're holding on there.
They hired a new general manager, and I think they're going to actually be. They're actually, since they hired him, my son and I were joking.
They're going to try. They're
actually trying now. So I think everybody's trying to get a contract for next year. So, but since they hired him, he came from the Giants, and he's got a really good resume. So I'm excited for next year. And
isn't Detroit a big enough city? I mean, you got Cleveland winning the division, and they're in the Central Division. With other than the White Sox being in Chicago, as far as town size, man, they should be able to compete in that division.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no doubt. I mean, yeah, there's no excuse. And to be honest, I mean, their attendance still, it hasn't like completely caved, and it's a great stadium. I really enjoy going to games there. It's not the old Tiger Stadium, but it's Comerica is a really fan-friendly environment. And if I go to, occasionally we'll go to Reds, Tigers, or whatever. And I mean, Detroit's got fans all over. It's a very, very good fan base, and when they're good, man, they it's as good as environment as anywhere. They just haven't had a lot to cheer about since about 13 or 14. 13, 14 was kind of the end of their run they had there with Dombrowski as the GM and all that talent they had, and since then it's kind of faded a little bit, but everything's there for them to be successful. It's just a matter of getting the right people in charge.
Let's see. The National League East, the only division to have 2 100-win teams in it. And the Dodgers had the most wins with 110 wins. So the National League looking a lot stronger. Even with the Yankees, they faded. But they've got Aaron Judge, who just hit his 62nd home run of the season we talked about earlier. They finally they're at 99 wins. They haven't even won 100 games, which they might win their last one, which would be kind of cool because that would put them at 162.
Yeah,
which is the last game of the number of games you play for the season.
What are your guys' thoughts on Judge and 62 and the I see a lot of pushback on the cut-ins and whatnot, but which
I can't believe that has been. Dustin happened to bring that up in the first segment. I was not affected by it because whatever I was watching, they weren't doing that on. So I never had that happen to me, but I instantly said I would hate that. If I wanted to watch a damn baseball game, I'll watch a baseball game. If I'm watching a football game, I want to watch the damn football game. Obviously I don't care enough about that to watch it. Why are you making me?
Right.
That's my opinion on it. Bob he's like, he was being like, I'm fine with it. So
yeah.
Dustin doesn't like it either.
I don't like it. I'm a baseball fan. I'm a Braves fan. I think it's cool that he was chasing history. But my thing is, with all the technology we have, why is there not just like some sort of stream that says here's where you can go to access to watch Aaron Judge potentially hit a 60-second home run, like just a little scroller at the bottom? I feel like that was perfectly fine. Part of it too is that I have ESPN Plus. So on our TV, I put on 4 games in 4 corners. So on 3 of those screens, there was Aaron Judge. So I had instead of 4 screens, I had 2, 4, 6. I had 7 screens going because they split everything in half. So it was really annoying to see Aaron Judge take swings at 3 different times and know what's going to happen. So that's probably a different level of frustration.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I was actually in the car listening to what was it? It was a college football Saturday. I was driving my son somewhere, and one of my sons, and we were listening to college football on the radio. I think it was I don't even remember what game it was, but all of a sudden they cut into the Judge, which I'm fine with on the radio. But it's kind of weird that that all of these college football fans, radio or TV, they're tuning in to listen to a certain game or whatever. And obviously if they were caring about the home run record, they would be watching that game, I would think. Right. It is a good, it's just a different, that's something you would have thought would happen maybe back in the 80s or 90s, but not now, like Dustin, you said, it's just a different time. I mean, growing, being around base, just growing up as a big baseball fan, I hate that 61. It used to be such a magical number, and the records were just so tainted by that steroid era that it's a shame that this wasn't a bigger deal. And it kind of like, people kind of diminishing it on social media, which is what social media is for, diminishing everything or being a smart aleck. But it's too bad, and those records are, there's no saying like, 73 never happened or 70 never happened. Shoot, I went to a lot of the McGuire games that year in 98, and it was fun, being around it then, but it's a shame all that stuff is just kind of blown out of the water, and it's just, like I said, 61 used to be such a magical number, and now it's obviously not.
Right.
Well, I still think that he held that record for so long, man. That's because I think always thought that the American League was a little easier to hit in, but I guess not.
For years it was always known as the, I remember growing up, American League was known as the home run, partly because the DH and just it was kind of that was the more of the home run league, and then kind of the steroid era was kind of that, and the National League was more of the speed, the stolen bases, the pitching, more of the better pitching and that sort of thing. But yeah, the yeah, so yeah, I thought that too, Jim. It's like that you would have thought the American League would have a higher number than that, but it doesn't. But yeah, I was telling my son last night, it's like, yeah, Babe Ruth had the 60 was the record from 1927 to 61, and then Maris broke it. So he had, 61 until 98. That was a long time. That was always the number.
And he caught a lot of grief when he broke the record because it was like, what do you have, an extra game or something?
They had 8 extra games added, and there was expansion. So there was a little bit more diluted pitching. My dad was a big Yankees fan. He was pretty young when Maris broke it, but he remembers some of that. And Maris there's a movie about. It's really good, actually. I think it's called 61, and did a really good job of kind of presenting that story. But Maris's hair was falling out. Mickey Mantle was also. He was up pretty high. They were both kind of chasing the record, and I think Mantle had 54 maybe that year, but he was pretty high up there too. But
his nights in a bar room.
Yeah, I'm reading a book about Mickey Mantle right now. It's pretty interesting. So
he was a hard liver, wasn't he?
He was. He grew up in a little town in Oklahoma. He's just a kind of a hayseed, didn't know any better when he got to New York. He was 19. I mean, it's just amazing to think about.
Can you imagine? That. Oh, my God. Can you imagine a 19-year-old kid, 19-year-old Okie in New York City?
And his dad kind of, he was just from a small town in Oklahoma. His dad was not they weren't a very well-off family. He was worked in the coal mines and so they just didn't have a lot of money, and he was a big Cardinals fan growing up. They went to St. Louis games a lot, and his dad always wanted him to be in the big leagues, and but he got to New York, he didn't have any and back then I'm sure they didn't really give you much as far as telling you how to live or what to do. So he's kind of learning all this on his own and learning from Billy Martin. So, it's like that probably wasn't a good situation for Mickey Mantle. But anyway, I mean, it's an interesting book. I'm about halfway through it now.
Hey, let's talk about Roncalli High School in Indianapolis, a Catholic school. Are they 3A, 4A? What are they?
4A. Yeah.
4A. I was going to say, because while in the midst of the story, I see that they beat the crap out of Louisville Male, 28-7. Louisville Male is one of the top teams in the state of Kentucky.
Yeah,
that was Floyd Central by like worse than that.
That was a good win for Roncalli. Roncalli has, and my colleague Akeem, we had him do a story on the running back Luke Hansen for Roncalli and their offensive line, and he's leading the state right now in rushing, and he gets the ball. I've covered him, I think, once this year, but he gets the ball, man, about 35 to 40 times a game, and it's kind of typical Roncalli. They have always run the ball, and that's kind of been their style. But they're having a lot of success right now with him and that running game, and they're basically on a collision course with New Pal to probably meet in the regional, and that will be a huge showdown. Probably both of them will be ranked 1 and 2. I would assume in 4A, and really, those two teams probably could compete with most 6A teams. Like you said, Louisville Male is always one of the best teams down there, and so for Roncalli to be able to beat them, I think shows a lot about where their program's at right now.
Yeah, I think that they're a 6A team in Kentucky. I can't remember for certain, but I believe that they're a 6A team. Well, I'll ask Rick when he's on with us.
Yeah, pretty sure. Yeah, I would. They have been in the past anyway.
Yeah, that caught my attention. I'm like, wow. I knew that was a good win. What's coming up this weekend?
It's kind of I've got a story. I went out to Indiana the deaf school for the state. They had a homecoming game Saturday night, so I went out and watched that, and got a story coming on their quarterback, and just really interesting to talk to him through an interpreter and be around that program that night. Was in the locker room with them at halftime and before the game, and watch how they communicate. It's just amazing how they communicate. There's a lot of signals obviously in football, but theirs is totally signals, and then to watch how the referees have to try to communicate with them too through an interpreter. It's just really interesting, and they've been around for a long time. The deaf school has, and they're going to be probably transitioning to 8-man football. As you know, there's that started up here this year, and there's a handful of schools doing that. So they're going to be going that route, which I think will be good for them. But yeah, I have that coming up, and in addition to other things too. And basketball's starting to get going here a little bit before long.
There was a deaf kid on my high school football team, and I always had the utmost respect because I'm like, good Lord, I can only imagine how hard that this game is when you cannot hear. Wow.
Well,
great stuff.
It was interesting seeing how they would blow the whistle, the referees would, and obviously the kids can't hear it, so they would have to step in and stop the play, and it leads to some frustration, I think, from the kids because they need the referees to run in there and not blow the whistle. But I know the referees, it's just habit, because they don't do those games all the time. So
they should have a light system, kind of like NASCAR, yellow lights flashing.
Yeah. But there was a couple situations where the play just kept going, and they would run to the end zone, and then they wouldn't know. It's not, or there'd be a late hit, and the kid and the flag would come out, but they picked him up. It wasn't like they were bad about it. They're just kind of natural, I think, to react that way.
Well, make sure you
ringing these bells. I don't know if you can hear these bells, but
it's bell time, baby. He's ringing the bells. He says it's time to go out. It's time to go for a walk. Well, perfect timing. We'll let you do that, but make sure you give Kyle a follow if you're not already, and checking out his incredible content at the Indy Star. Always great stuff, Kyle. We appreciate you, brother. What's your dog's name, by the way?
Thor.
Nice.
Thanks, Thor. We'll see you.
He says bye. We'll see you guys.
See you, Thor. We're back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by our good friends at Metalworks Brewing Company. Up next, the Hall of Famer Rick Bozich joins us from WDRB.com right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Hey, this is John the...
I was like, what in the hell is that noise?
I knew one of my best friends had a bell on the door, and the dog, anytime it wanted to go out, would go up and knock it. So as soon as I heard it, like the second time, I knew exactly what it was.
Hey, Rick, could you clear your screen off a little bit?
Sure.
Thank you, senor.
Where's the stuff? There it is.
You made a request last week for bump music, and I've got you taken care of.
Okay, man. Hey, FYI, I'm out next week. I'm going on vacation.
Okay, cool.
Oh, cool. Going to Florida?
Turn more lights on.
Are you headed to Florida?
St. Simon Island in Georgia.
Nice.
Oh, good.
We are avid Jekyll Island visitors. So
are you really?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's right. We stayed at Jekyll the last time.
Yep. We always do the last 3 years, I think we've gone to the campground because it's like $50 a night, and my parents have an RV, so I just set up a tent and sleep outside and play golf, go to the beach. But I've been to St. Simon's once or twice. I've never stayed there, but I've visited the island.
It's nice.
Mm-hmm.
Good thing you're able to go there without much damage from that hurricane.
Yep. Hopefully it won't be super crowded either. It's this time of year. And the Hoosiers are a 22-point dog. Is that correct?
Yep. I think it went down to 21 last time I looked, but I mean, what's the difference?
A point.
Started at 17. I should have jumped on that.
How in the world did it start at 17?
God, I should have jumped on that when it did.
I was listening to a Vegas podcast, and they were hoping it would go up to 24.
I hope it hits. The over and under hits 58 is where they score, because I've got two different parlays with the over in one and the under in another one. I got them at different points. So if I hit 58 points, I can win with both of them.
All right, here we go.
As early as up to 10 a.m. with 1 week in advance tee time bookings. You just cover your card fees. Now, there is a limited number of memberships available, so go to eaglepoint.com right now and get yours today.
This segment is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
Reminiscing, Senate County a week was in there chilling. How the fuck I ain't end up in there when we was really drilling?
Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
They killed Tracy that same night when we was out there chilling.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by Bubba's 33 down in Clarksville. Welcome in G Herbo fan Rick Bozich. His walk-up music. This is what he listens to when he's walking his dog. So if you see him down there walking around and bopping his head, that's why it's just hard not to move to that sound.
Is this Friday night?
This is Friday night, baby.
Is there like a concert after Hoosier Hysteria?
Yeah.
Or not? Okay.
The student seating is set up to where that is where the concert seating is going to be afterwards. I think it's sections L and M. So I'm assuming they're going to come out and quickly put up some kind of stage, I would imagine. And
they're gonna give the blue-haired generation like a half an hour to get out.
Yeah, so, that's why you got
the gray hair.
Got to put the stage up. Luckily, mine's still blonde, but it's just I fake people, fake out. But I mentioned this earlier. Caleb knows. Jizzy James going to Cincinnati, the son of Edge, Edgerrin James. It's just fun saying that. But that was hilarious. No, I think football, right?
Okay.
But is he a football or basketball player, Caleb?
About to find out.
Yeah, basketball player. Wow.
Yeah.
There you go. Holy moly. Yeah, as soon as I saw that, I'm like, holy moly. Didn't realize that. That changes the deal. It makes it even Cincinnati, building up things, their football program they're building up, basketball they're building up. Mike Roberts, former IU assistants over there, but rumors about
Arrington Page.
Not just Arrington Page, but
Kokomo.
Flory Badunga, yeah. So, man, that would be an amazing turnaround for Cincinnati, for that university, with that pro football program the way it is right now, and if they could get a basketball program right behind that before they join the Big 12, they're doing things the right way.
Yeah, they got momentum.
Louisville, what's football? Not exactly momentum. Yeah, they're not alone, but theirs is more frustrating, I think, probably for the Louisville fans. It's just frustrating as hell, some of their losses.
Well, yeah, I mean, they're 2-3. They should be 4-1. They should have beaten Florida State. That game was here, lost 35-31. Boston College favored by 16.5 that game on the road, leading into the fourth quarter. Malik Cunningham goes out. Offense kind of stalls. Defense breaks down. Lose that one. They're now 2-3, and two things are very concerning. One is all three teams they lost to, they beat last year, so that's not good. And secondly, they play at Virginia this week, and they're actually a 3-point favorite. And then the last 4 of the teams they play are ranked. So, the press conference was there yesterday, and Scott Satterfield made a fairly, for him, bold move of saying, I'm going to spend a little bit less time with the offense, and I'm going to spend more time with the defense and the special team, and try and fix these things because, he's in year 4 and people are unhappy and they're used to this program being a top 25 team, playing in bowl games every year, having really good players, including one exceptional one like Lamar Jackson, and it's not good right now.
Speaking of Lamar, man, I talked about him earlier. We were talking about the youth movement in the NFL, these quarterbacks. And I said, well, and you cannot forget about Lamar Jackson. Now, how long has he been in the league? 5 years?
Yeah. 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. Yeah.
But the thing is, he didn't start badly. He was able to come in and play. And now he's worked up to MVP level in 5 years. It used to take 5 years to get onto the field. Seriously, I mean, think about these guys.
You usually had to serve a 2-year apprenticeship on the bench before they even thought about playing. Now these guys make so much money that nobody's patient anymore, and they go in the game usually their first year or second year at the worst, and by the third or fourth year they've made a determination we're either going to keep you and extend you, or you can hit the road like Mayfield or Darnold or a bunch of those guys have.
Daggone it. Well, I forgot what I was going to say, but you've got a piece out right now that's very interesting. Speaking of betting, the over-under on the percentage of head coaches at the 64 Power 5 schools that will be jobless or who have been on the jobless after, was it 2 full seasons?
You look at the Power 5 schools, what percentage of coaches have been on the job 2 years or less? And it's more than 40%. Just shows you how severe the churn is. We're what, 5 weeks into the season, we've had 5 coaches go down 4 weeks in a row. The pace picked up last week where 2 guys went down. Wisconsin showing, they're cutthroat there. I mean, that was a cold-blooded move. The dude is an alum who was an assistant there, is now a head coach. He's 3-time Big Ten West champion, 2-time Big Ten Coach of the Year. You're out because he lost to Washington State. He got embarrassed by Ohio State, and then he lost to Bielema at home. And, that's the way of the world right now. I think this week it'll either be Harsin at Auburn or Jeff Scott at South Florida, or I think there's one other guy. But, it's not going to stop. I mean, this is the new trend.
$56 million is what you have as the payouts, the current payouts that are going to go to the former coaches, Scott Frost at Nebraska, Herm Edwards at Arizona State, Georgia Tech, Colorado, and Wisconsin will be paid to not coach. $56 million to not do anything.
And it makes me wonder, I don't know if this is going to be me kind of making assumptions, but it makes me wonder, when you have that sort of guaranteed money, I mean, I would actively be trying to get fired if I knew that I could get that kind of money to not get, to not have to work. Like, I don't think that's the case, but does it take, when you have that kind of buyout, does it take some of the pressure off to win? Because
I was going to say, do you care like they used to?
Exactly.
I think there's a part of you that's relieved that you're out of the rat race now. I mean, these jobs have gotten considerably harder in the last few years because of all the other stuff you have to worry about, the transfer portal, not knowing, week to week, month to month, certainly year to year, how much your roster is going to stay together. You got to deal with all the, the social media criticism and stuff. It's not, they're tough. They're tough jobs. They're tough gigs for sure. They're getting paid a lot of money, but just a constant demand on producing, if you look, I mean, it's not like he had losing seasons at Wisconsin. They just weren't good enough winning seasons. I mean, that's heavy duty. And what advantage does Wisconsin really have? They don't have the weather. They don't have great facilities from what I read, and they don't have a great built-in recruiting base. And people are expecting them to be this dominant power. Barry Alvarez was, but that was a different world.
And Paul Christ, John, I'll give John credit again. He pointed out that same record as Bo Pelini when let go. I think 62-27 is what it was. I'm like, boy, there are a lot of schools that would sure take that. And Tanis makes a funny suggestion why Indiana should maybe look at some of these guys, go out and try to bring them in as coaches, because that is a gigantic problem for Indiana coaching staff.
Well, what it makes you look at, the comparison that popped into my mind immediately on Sunday was that you got some of these schools, Nebraska and Wisconsin, in the Big Ten that are eating these massive, 8-figure buyouts. They're both. I mean, Chris, I think I read yesterday, his got negotiated down from 16 actually to 11, and Frost is 15. And you got Indiana that couldn't even afford, if you believe what I've read, to make a change at offensive line coach because they didn't have the money. I mean, it's hard to exist.
Tom Allen had to take a pay cut to fire Nick Sheridan.
Yeah. So how do you expect somebody to compete in the same league when you've got other programs that are willing to eat that kind of mistake and you can't make the moves you need to make to make them, to improve your staff? I don't know. That's a tough way to be competitive.
And to your point, Rick, about the, to talk about 3 Big Ten West titles, 2 Coach of the Year, consistently hit 10 wins. And then you look at Bo Pelini, and it makes you wonder, look at the situation now Nebraska's in. Is this a situation in 5 years? Now, I think Jim Leonard's a really good coach, but he's only been in the business for 6 years. Now, he's never been a head coach. If they fall short, I mean, you could be looking at this as a Nebraska-like situation where you are just hoping to be mediocre for the next 20 years.
Well, here's how they get in this churn, Rick. You talked about Larry Moe and Curley writing these contracts, and I've wondered that. I'm like, good Lord, this is crazy. Why can't I get a deal like this? But bringing up following on what Dustin just said, if they sign Jim Leonard to a contract and then he doesn't work out in 3 years, but yet he's got a 6-year contract and they've got to pay him, and they're probably will be done finally paying the other coaches, but they will continually be paying coaches that aren't there.
I mean, Louisville's gone through that. I mean, they've paid Bobby Petrino. They just got done paying him a few years ago. Now they might have to pay Satterfield. They're paying Chris Mack while they're paying Kenny Payne. I mean, it's no way to run a business. I'll say this about Wisconsin. I think Pat Forty, my friend, had the best explanation for what's going on there, and it's this. Everybody has their eyes on Lance Leopold. He's the flavor of the year at Kansas, 5-0 college game day going this week. He is a Wisconsin guy. He made his reputation at the D3 level in Wisconsin. He is the guy supposedly Nebraska has their eyes on. I think Wisconsin has given this job to Jim Leonard to see how he does down the stretch. And then at the end of the year, they're going to have to make a decision. Do they want to get in the bidding contest for Lance Leopold, or are they going to stay with Jim Leonard? And it's a positioning thing, and that's why they moved when they moved.
Yeah, just like but this is kind of a different situation because but in IU found IU found $10 million. Yeah, that was I knew that was not going to be a problem. Well, I can't say that because I believe found is the right word. It wasn't. I don't think it came from the university, but.
I think they said it. Wasn't it one booster that agreed to pay off, and now they've gotten an offset for the last 2 years of it. So it's ended up being what, like 7 instead of 10?
Yeah, I think 7 or 7.5 maybe. So that was a situation unlike Nebraska, who spent that same amount for 2 weeks. This was a whole season for Indiana. This was a whole season. A whole season that turned around. Yeah, a whole season that turned Indiana around. They went to the tournament the following year. With the new coach they brought in. So the excitement that followed, that didn't work there. But and the Louisville thing, if Frost didn't work out, do you think Brom leaves Purdue? They're able to pay him more, I think, and he probably has a better chance of competing at a higher level at Purdue, especially right now in the Big Ten West. God knows who's going to win that. I mean, they just beat who I thought the favorite was.
Minnesota, beat them 20-10 in Gopherland. Beat him with defense.
Yeah.
He loves Louisville. His family's from Louisville. His wife's family's from Louisville. Got a home in Louisville. It's the only job, I think, unless you're talking about a premier job or an NFL job, I think he'd be interested in. But I agree with you. I mean, Purdue is a better job. You're in a better league with more financial resources and even more coming. And he's already making, what's he making? Isn't he making over 5? He's making
$5.5 million, I believe.
Yeah, and
that's what I'm
Satterfield,
saying. Louisville can't. I don't know that Louisville could pay him more anyway. He probably has raises in that contract, I would imagine.
Right.
So,
but I think he'll listen to him. He listened to him the last time, but Louisville's going to have to do something because you've been around here. When one thing I'll say about Louisville is they have very good and emotional fan support, and they are invested. But once they turn on a coach, they shut it down. And last year, the KFC Yum Center was empty because people checked out on Chris Mack. People checked out on Steve Cragthorpe. People checked out on Ron Cooper. Once they decide that you're not the guy, they've decided you're not the guy and you're not going to get him back. So this is a really big game for Scott Satterfield this weekend. They play at Virginia. If they lose that game, they come home. They have a week off, and then they play Pittsburgh. And, I can't see it being a very pleasant atmosphere out there at Cardinal Stadium.
I was just going to ask Rick to follow up on this Jeff Brom before we move on. Is there a chance you think that when you look around and see what happened to Scott Frost at Nebraska, Paul Chryst at Wisconsin, I'm sure there's plenty of other examples. Do you think he'd want to risk? I don't know. Legendary status is maybe not the right term, but he's a popular guy there. If you go back and you don't do well, all of a sudden it tears down everything that you created. Do you think that would be a real concern for him, or would that not weigh into the equation?
No, I don't think it would weigh into the equation because his connections, I'm sure he believes deep down that if he came to Louisville, he'd get it going and get it going quickly. Got a tremendous amount of belief in himself. He's got great connections in the local area in terms of recruiting. They've already gotten dudes out of this area to play at Purdue, specifically Rondell Moore. And there have been some other Kentucky kids they've gotten to go up there and play. And he came here in a time when Louisville football was just, an ordinary program. And he believed in the Howard Schnellenberger vision for the University of Louisville football and turned down Notre Dame and Tennessee and some big-time programs to play here. So I think he's the kind of guy who believes that if he did do it, he'd be a difference maker at Louisville.
There's been some little snippets of coming out. Dan Dockage made mention.
Right.
Who's the guy from Kentucky? Daggone it.
Matt Jones.
Matt Jones. Also, that news about the IU Kentucky basketball series percolating.
Right.
And
Brad
I'm
Jones
thinking,
said something too.
what a better time than this Friday at Hoosier Hysteria than to make that announcement, because if that's perking out, I'm like, there's a reason that that's trickling out, I would think. I can't imagine it's a coincidence days before this happens, but there's
it's coming out from both ends, which is interesting. I texted a couple people whose opinions I value and trust yesterday, and they said they didn't think there was anything specific to it. I'll say that when I was up there with you a couple of weeks ago at IU Basketball Media Day, I asked Scott Dolson, and I got the sense that there's interest in doing it and there's dialogue in doing it. I didn't get the sense that it was anything imminent, but if it happens, it happens, and hopefully they make it into a big event thing where they're playing in Lucas Oil or somewhere like that, where they turn it into a TV event, a social event, a basketball. Hey, look at us event.
That would be fun just to get that series revamped. And speaking of which, Friday, Hoosier Hysteria for Indiana, big weekend, period. Homecoming weekend with Michigan on Saturday at home. But Hoosier Hysteria, obviously, something the fans are looking very much forward to seeing their team on Friday at Simon Scott Assembly Hall, and the first look at these guys together.
Yeah, I got a question for you guys. I got my email yesterday reminder from the Associated Press sports editor. It was time to get your vote in for the preseason AP poll. I'm thinking about where to vote Indiana. Where would you guys put Indiana in the preseason top 25?
That's a great question. And it depends on more about who actually is in front of them to me. I'm like, all right, this team I think is better. And I have not looked at that, but I would think that they're probably, I've got to guess that they're right outside the top 10, top 15 in that area, but that's without seeing them shoot or play. They just have to be they were on the precipice last year. I mean, there was too many games that they just lost by mistakes. And I'm like, oh, man, and they've definitely improved talent. So I would think that they're a top 15 team.
Dustin?
I was going to say between 15 and 20.
That's what I'm leaning towards, yeah.
Yeah, and that does not surprise me.
Until I see proof they can shoot the ball. What people forget, I think sometimes is in the euphoria is probably too strong of a word, but in all the excitement over the end of last season is A, they were the last team in the tournament. So it almost turned out a different way. And B, after they got in and beat Wyoming, they got drubbed by St. Mary's.
Yeah.
So there's a gap between them and, real top 25 teams still. So I'm thinking between 15 and 20 until I see that, Hood Schifino is the real deal, and either Miller Kopp or whoever else plays at that small forward position can give them what they need at that spot.
And they're going to need, and I agree, because they're going to need time to get to that. They haven't been together. They're playing together, of course, during the summer, but you've got to play real games together, real competition, and go and be in those tough moments together before you gel as a team. So, but I think that they're going to have the talent they need. I think that they have added that. I don't think that shooting is going to be the issue that it has been. I think that maybe the talent that they have will be able to offset the need for more three-point shooting. Well, I think Jalen Hood Schifino is just going to be such a great addition in so many ways. Not necessarily a three-point shooter, but if they just play better and not make the types of mistakes they made last year, you don't have to hit 12 threes a game. You just have to be a little more efficient.
Efficient is right. And they've got the depth and athleticism that I think they should really be a tremendous defensive team. There's no reason. They were good on last year, but they should be better this year. I would think that Hood Schifino has the ability to be a better defender than is it Parker Stewart? Is that the guy who left? Yeah.
Not only that, but you've got a year more of growth on Tamar Bates, a year of learning. Jordan Geronimo,
right?
He was pretty
Galloway
raw.
Back and healthy.
So, talking about defense, Indiana should be one of the top defending teams in the country without question. I mean, they should be hard to play against.
Are you guys buying in on the Logan Duncombe hype? Because he seems to be the guy who's sort of in the last week or two that everybody's talking about how improved he is. And that came obviously from Media Day with Trace Jackson Davis and Race Thompson both kind of making certain to publicly praise him.
I like the fact that teammates supporting each other, but I'm going to go with until I see it. Not that he's not possible, because I saw him play in high school. I saw what he did. I saw what they did with him and Trey Kaufman. They were dominant. He was dominant, and I saw what he did against Trey Kaufman. So he's a good player. So I'm not doubting that he can be or do exactly what they've said, but I'd like to see it first.
I think too, I think cautiously optimistic would be a way to put it. I don't think teammates put a player's name out there if they're not being serious, like haven't seen some sort of significant improvement. But again, you got to see it. It's kind of like this entire Indiana team that you summed up, Rick. To me, you got to see it to believe it. So I think that there's reason for cautious optimism. I don't think they were just saying stuff just to say stuff, but what are you going to do when you play those teams like Kansas, Xavier, North Carolina, and then the Big Ten schedule? How's he look in those games? I think that's what a lot of people are probably waiting to see.
I actually, if it's true, he could be a really valuable piece because once you get in the Big Ten, we all know the way they play in the Big Ten, and a big physical center who can hold his position in the post and, take a few fouls and give Trace Jackson a chance, Jackson Davis a chance to get an extra blow where he's not playing 35 minutes in a game would be a big benefit to you.
Right.
Five Less says Duncombe has the confidence of a man that persevered through the struggle. Well, hopefully so. Let's see.
He's added the weight. That part of it is legit. From what we saw, he looked like a different guy.
And he, like I said, he's been beaten up against Race Thompson and Trace Jackson Davis for the last 2 years. So that has to make you better. Make sure you give Rick a follow. His latest piece, Who's Cutting These College Football Contracts? Mo, Larry, or Curly, could not be more aptly titled. I'm telling you, I've been wondering that for years. I was wondering that just in Indiana. But
Make sure you give him a follow if you're not already. You're crazy not to. What's up for you this weekend, Rick?
Louisville, Virginia will be my assignment. I'll keep what time's the Indiana game?
Noon kickoff.
Noon. Same time as the Louisville game. So I'll be going iPad, double iPad or iPad television screen. How many more wins for the Hoosiers? 1? 0?
I was
you
going to
really
say
believe 0?
Dustin?
The over-under is going to be 0.5 in Vegas the rest of the way.
I watched that game Saturday night, and when they had to take a timeout on the first play of the game, it was like that's like the worst thing that could happen, in my opinion.
I would almost not take the timeout out of embarrassment and just run a crappy play. I would rather just I'm like, I'll make up for it later, because you're not only will you need that timeout probably, but it's embarrassing. But they never got out of a hole. They were in a hole the whole night, it seemed. I'm like, every time I looked up, it was 1st and 10 at the 5. And
well, the thing is, when you watch a team that can't block, run pass, or pass block, they look overwhelmed the whole game. They never look like they're in control of the game. They always look like they're scrambling to survive. And I mean, it's as we talked about earlier, that has to be fixed. I mean, I get tired of repeating it because we've talked about it every week, but you knew this was a problem last season, and you knew you had to fix it coming into this season, and it wasn't fixed in terms of a change in the coaching staff, and it really wasn't fixed in terms of getting somebody out of the portal. And maybe there aren't offensive linemen in the portal who could have helped fix it, but it's hard to believe that you could go into another season with the same problem being that glaring, where everybody was grumbling about it last season, right? I mean,
yep.
Oh, and
it was a big point of contention.
And what's really concerning is that Tom Allen thought the blocking was better against Nebraska. First of all, it didn't look any better or any different. And number 2, even if it was, that's the last ranked defense in every statistical category in the Big Ten.
Right.
And you still give up 35 points. So
you got handled.
I mean,
you got handled. Make sure you give Rick Bozich a follow. Appreciate you, sir. Have a great weekend.
All right. Thank you.
The dog.
All right, man. Thanks, guys.
The great one join us here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry down in Sellersburg. If you're down in that way, stop in and see Dr. J for that championship smile. He is a top-notch professional, and that is a pain-free dentist to go to, let me tell you. We're back with more to finish out this week's edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry, as I said, right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Whether you're visiting, John, you can tease or add a tease to one of the clips that we talked about the IU.
I'm actually just going to take the first clip of you and Dustin talking about the Kentucky stuff, because you all talked about it way longer, and it'll do just as good. It doesn't matter if it's either Rick Bozich or not.
And then what's Rick's going to be about?
You mean Bob?
Well, no.
Oh, no,
Rick,
I'm just not. Y'all were too all over the place. I'm just going to do Bob Kravitz.
Oh, you got to post Rick Bozich, though. That's those two automatic have to always get posted, I think.
I've told you before. I mean, I get what you're saying, but it's not about the guests. It's about the content.
In most situations, I agree.
Like last week, I didn't post Bob because I don't even remember what you even talked about with Bob. I mean, I could tell you if it was last week, but I was like, none of that will do well.
How about that?
It must have been something about the Colts, because I don't remember the last time I posted anything about the Colts and it doing anything well.
Which is surprising.
But
they're just so. But how long has it been since the Colts have been good?
But it's not always about that. It's about part of it's consistently having certain people out there.
Yeah, well, and that's why 9 times out of 10, yes, my clips are almost always on Wednesdays, Rick and Bob. But if something stands out, like for example, your all's conversation at the beginning of the show about the Kentucky-Indiana series, that's better than, and not that the stuff with Rick was bad, but I promise you the 7 or 8 minutes that you and Dustin talked about the Indiana-Kentucky series and bringing up Matt Jones and whatever.
But see, the thing with Rick is you could make it quick. IUUKBB question mark, comma, whatever else. We talked about comma.
All right. We'll talk about this later because you and I think differently on the YouTube stuff, and I'm not going to argue on the radio right now.
It's not arguing.
Here we go.
Discussing.
Hey, I made the Mike DeCourcy clip yesterday, and it's already over 8,000 views. And that's ridiculous to me.
I'm not surprised.
All right, here we go.
Sign up. It's free. You can also find full episodes of Indiana Sports Beat Radio on the homepage or on the station every week, Monday through Friday. If we're not on a station where you live, we should be. Ask for Indiana Sports Beat Radio. This segment is brought to you by K-Bello. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back. Indiana Sports Beat Radio brought to you by Cabello Restaurant, part of the Wow Club, located on the square in Bloomington at the former Grazie location, right on the north side. Stop in and enjoy the southern traditions of Italy and right here in southern Indiana. Dustin Schutte from Outsider.com with me. Just finished up with Rick Bozich. Finishing up some things. Pete pointing out that Pacer tip-off tonight.
That's right, in Charlotte. It'll be exciting. I think you have to.
Charlotte.
They're playing the Hornets. I think they've got. I think the game you have to get NBA League Pass to see them tonight, but I think it's part of their free 7-game, 7-day trial or whatever. So I might dip into that to get to watch them tonight. I'll have to see if they're on Valley Sports. I'm not 100% sure on that part of it.
Yeah, we'll see how that. Is that still ongoing?
What?
That Valley Sports issue.
My guess is yes. I have a different way to watch it, so
I do too. But that's 2 years, and I
agree.
That's just the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard of.
And here's what really I don't know if I can say this, but it really pisses me off is I don't know why. I mean, I do know why because of the television contracts. But if I pay for MLB TV, if I play for NFL Sunday Ticket, if I pay for NBA League Pass, and I should get access to either they do packages for a single team or for the entire league. You should get access with no blackout restrictions. You are paying that product to be able to watch those games, whether you're in market, out of market. I don't care what it is. Not everybody has access to this stuff. So figure it out so that we can pay you money and we can watch our teams.
I agree. Wyatt says, yes, it is. Only the overpriced cable networks have Valley. So
that's accurate.
Well, that's why they're overpriced, unfortunately. But yeah, can you get just the NBA package? There's an NBA package where you can watch the Pacers.
You can get the NBA League Pass, but like I said, I think because you're in network, I think you would be blacked out of them, which is what I say the problem is. Because you can't get just Valley, you'd have to get you could get League Pass, but if you wanted to watch just the Pacers, I'm pretty sure you'd be blacked out because you technically live in that zone. Now maybe it's changed, I don't know, but
Wyatt says that Valley just released Valley Sports Plus for $20 a month or $80 for the year, $180 for the year. So that may be a way of getting around that right there.
There you go.
And Perfect. Then you could just do it $20 a month for the season and get out.
You could, yep.
So
yeah, that would be worth it, unless you were a Reds or I don't know, maybe the Cubs. I don't know who all carries. But if you were a Reds fan, I know that Indiana on Valley carries Valley Sports Indiana carries the Reds too, so that might make it worth a full year.
So it looks like there's a way to get it now. We'll talk.
Well, that's good.
Well, I'll tell you who will know. Chris Denari.
That's right.
So Ross is getting to see Pacers games down in Southern Kentucky on Valley.
All right.
So there you go. Hopefully that can be put back together. Man, what a fun show. Always with Bob and Rick. That's just always. Yeah, that was a shame early on. I thought it was a good idea to have them on together. It was a good idea, but that's too much. That's too much power.
Too much for one show.
It really is. No, it really is. I mean, they always bring so much each that limiting them like that would have been dumb on my part. Five Lefts bought the 2K23 Championship Edition for his nephew, and it had the NBA League Pass. All for $160.
Are you serious? You get the video game and League Pass for $160? I might go out to the store tonight.
Man.
And buy an Xbox One or PS5 or whatever. Whew, what a deal.
Ross not paying for it. Now will I pay for it? No, I don't know. Or no, I'm not saying. Well, thank you, brother. We appreciate you, Five Lefts, very much. We appreciate all of you, of course. Appreciate Bob Kravitz, Kyle Neddenriep, Bob Kravitz from The Athletic. Make sure you give him a follow and read his content. Kyle Neddenriep at the Indy Star, the same. And Rick Bozich from WDRB.com. Of course, Dustin Schutte from Outsider.com as well. Great appreciation. John, the producer. And you. We can't do anything without you guys. We appreciate you so much. Looking forward to doing it again tomorrow. Hope you have yourselves a great one. Until then, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.